Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Apologies, first of all, for the absolute state behind me. I do feel like I'm just a broken record, like repeating myself at this point. I'm moving house, hence why I am surrounded by boxes and bags of my belongings. Anyway, I'm really excited for today's video. I have no idea when you're seeing this, it depends how this video pans out. But for me, it's currently the 3rd of March, and I'm yet to have a 5-star read at all this year. I'm determined to change that. I like giving out 5 stars, I like adding books to my God tier. So that is the aim of today's video, is we're going to read some of my 5-star predictions, some general books that I've just kind of had on my radar that I have very high hopes about. And we're going to see if we can find a 5-star read in this video, and if so, how many we can find. I was going to do it like this video ends when I find a 5-star read, but I think we're just going to read as many books as I can that I have high hopes for and see how many 5 stars we can find in this one video. I've been on the edge of a reading slump for a while. Like, I keep kind of dipping either side of the line, and I feel like I really need some solid reads to just make sure I'm not going to fall into a reading slump. So the first book we're going to read for this video, I don't think this was actually on my 5-star predictions list for this year. It's a book that's been on my radar for a long time, but it's been kind of sat in the background, even though I always thought I would love it. And it is Mary Jane. I can't remember who it's by because I don't have it in front of me. I'm listening to it on audio, but I'll put the cover on the screen anyway. My library had a hold of this just ready, like an audio book, just ready to listen to. I didn't have to put a hold in and wait for it. So I thought, well, that feels like the universe telling me that I should read it. Basically, this book is set in the 1970s, so it definitely gives like Taylor Jenkins Reid vibes in that way. And it's about 14-year-old Mary Jane, who has got like a part-time summer job babysitting for a local family, like for their little girl. And that's kind of where I've got to so far. I don't really want to tell you too much. It's a very slice of life book, so it's not like there's a massive plot that I'm aware of anyway, to kind of tell you what the book is about. I think we're just going to kind of follow her. Things are definitely happening. Like, it's really interesting so far, and I just love the characters. Like, there's so much going on all over the place that it's just great. I'm really, really enjoying it. I have no idea yet if it's a 5-star. It definitely could be. It depends how the book goes. I'm not sure how far in I am. Maybe about like 25% of the way through. Forgot to check before I started filming this clip. But yeah, I am very much enjoying it. So who knows? Maybe book 1 of this video could be a 5-star. I have no idea. I'll probably check back in with you tomorrow when I'm like halfway through, and we'll see how I'm getting on. Hello, I have finished Mary Jane. I'm so sorry for the state of moving at work all day. I finished Mary Jane. I apologise for not updating you when I was halfway through, but I was driving, so it was unsafe. So I finished it, and it's not a 5-star. I think I've settled on a 4.5. 4.25 feels too low. I don't know if it's quite a 4.5 comparing it to my other 4.5s, but I'm just going to give it. I think what tipped it up to 4.5 for me was I was listening to the audiobook, which I enjoyed anyway. But then at the end of the audiobook, you actually get to hear one of the songs. It's relevant in the book, but it was like properly produced as a song. So it wasn't cringy. It wasn't just someone like reading out the lyrics. It was like actually sung, and I really enjoyed that. It was quite atmospheric. So yeah, 4.5. It just didn't give me those 5-star feelings. Like, it's definitely not a 5-star. Even if I'm still thinking about the book in a few days, I just don't think it would go up to a 5-star. I think 4.5 is kind of the max, but I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. It was just very slice of life, which I enjoyed. It was such a quick, easy read. I think the reason it's not a 5-star is like I didn't take anything from it. I didn't like click with any of the characters to the point of being like I can recognise myself in them, which I don't have to do that for a 5-star. But I think both of those things, coupled with the fact that it was just slice of life, it didn't have any kind of, you know, big shocking plot or anything, I think it would have had to have maybe one of those to be a 5-star. But nonetheless, I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm very glad that I read it after it being on my radar for so long. I'm not sure what I'm going to read next for this video. I'm going to read a book for another video this evening. So I will pop back in here when I decide what I'm going to read next. We are back with book 2 for this video. So I don't have a physical copy because it's only been released in hardback, and I don't want the hardback, I want the paperback so that it matches the other ones in the series, because it's in a series. It is the 3rd Emily Wilde book. I'll pop it here. Emily Wilde and the Compendium of Lost Tales, I believe, is the title. I'm listening to this one on audio on Spotify, just as I said, because I have the first 2 on the way in the post in paperback, so I don't want to get the hardback of the new one. I'm just going to wait. The paperback isn't released till like November, so I wanted to read it before then, but we're just going to have to wait till then to get a physical copy of the 3rd one. I am accidentally already halfway through. I listened to it on the way to and from work, and it's only like a 12-hour audiobook and I'm listening to it on 3 times speed. So I am already nearly like halfway through and I'm loving it. I'm just really, really loving it. The first 2 in the series, for context, weren't 5 stars. So if you don't know what Emily Wilde's series is, it's a really cozy fantasy series about Emily Wilde, who is like a scholar at Cambridge, and she researches the Fae, basically. She does like desk research, she goes out and like finds the Fae and writes like papers and books and things about the Fae. So that's the premise of the series. Obviously I can't say too much about what the 3rd book is about because I don't want to spoil anything. There is like a little romance in there. It's definitely not the main point of the book though, but I do love the 2 characters that the romance is between. So yeah, anyway, as I was saying, the first 2 weren't 5 stars. The first one was like a 4.25, 4.5, and the second one was a 4 star. However, I just feel like because I've been out of the world for a little bit and I'm loving being back in it so much, and because it's the final book, I believe, I think it's only going to be a trilogy, I don't know, I'm just getting good feelings about this one that it could be a 5 star. I feel like if it rounds out the series nicely and makes me feel a bit like sad that it's ending, it could potentially be a 5 star. But anyway, we'll see. I'll probably just pop back in now when I've finished this one. This is a pretty easy one because it's the 3rd one in the series. Obviously, there's just not that much I can actually say about it. So probably not that much of this video is going to be dedicated to Emily Wilde. But yeah, I'll pop back in probably just when I've finished, as I said, and let you know whether or not this was a 5 star. Apologies for the state, mate. I am big fat going through it, huns, but I am here to give updates. So I finished Emily Wilde and the Compendium of Lost Tales earlier, and it was a 4.5. I promise I'm not doing this on purpose. It just genuinely was not a 5 star. It was literally like it came down to the final chapter. It had a very ordinary ending, which like fits the series because it's a very like chill kind of ish cozy kind of series. But I don't know, I wanted something a bit more like a bit of oomph, something a bit more impactful at the end, which unfortunately I did not get. However, I loved it. Like, I really loved it. Obviously, for it to be a 4.5, I love it. The series just has a special place in my heart. Like, it's just so beautifully written. I love how Heather Fawcett can describe a setting without just having pages and pages of description. Like, her writing is so beautiful, but like while she's describing the beautiful flowers, things are happening in the plot like at the same time. It's not like stop, start, stop, start, describe, do, describe, do. Like, it's all weaved in together, in my opinion. And I think her writing is stunning. So yeah, we've got another 4.5 for this video. We've got another 2 reads that I've started one, I'm going to start the other now when I film this clip. So the next books we're going to read, actually I have a physical copy of one. Is it here? Oh, it's upstairs. I'll hold it up next time I talk about it. It's Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. I started this at the end of my 24-hour readathon that I uploaded. I don't know how long before this. I have no idea when my videos are even going up this month, to be honest. And the more I'm reading it, like I wasn't originally going to put it in this video, but the more I'm reading it, the more I kind of like it. So we might as well, I'm reading it anyway, we might as well put it in here. Out on a Limb was a 4.5. So Hannah Bonham Young definitely has a good track record with me to like potentially have a very highly rated read. I don't know if it's giving 5-star read, but I also don't want to put it down. Like, I just always want to read it. It definitely wasn't giving 5-star vibes right at the beginning of the book, but now we're kind of into the crux of it. I can definitely see it heading in a better direction. So we're going to chuck it in this video just in case, because knowing my luck, I won't put it in this video and then it'll be a 5-star. So yeah, that's the book I'm currently reading. And then I finished, obviously, Emily Wilde today, which was my audiobook of choice. So I've now got the audiobook of The Women by Kristin Hannah from the library. So I'm going to start that today. That one will probably take me a little bit longer to read. I've not got masses of time to listen to that today, but I'm going to make a start on it anyway. And I've never read a Kristin Hannah book before. This was just the first one available at the library, so it's the one that I'm starting with. I don't know if it's the best one to start with, but it's the one that I'm going with because it's the one that's available. So yeah, I've never read a Kristin Hannah, but I love historical fiction. I am a historical fiction girl. I don't read enough of it, but I used to a few years ago and I love it. Like, The Book Thief is one of my favourite books ever. Not that I think The Women is going to be like The Book Thief. Quite different types of historical fiction, but I have read quite a few different types of historical fiction, and I do tend to very much enjoy them. So I have high hopes that this one really could be the first 5-star of the year. It's not that I don't have hopes for Out of the Woods, but if I had to choose between them, I would probably predict I'm going to rate The Women higher. But we'll see. Who knows? Sometimes you never know. Like, sometimes you go into a book not expecting anything of it, and then it's a 5-star or like a 6-star god tier. So anyway, I'm gonna go read now, and I will get back to you probably when I've maybe finished Out of the Woods, because I am already like halfway through that one. So I'll probably get back to you when I've finished, or maybe like 75% through, to see how I am feeling. Hello, I am back in the same place with the same mess behind me. But I am now about a quarter of the way through The Women by Kristin Hannah. So I thought I could actually now like tell you what the book is about, because I had no idea. I went into it just completely blind. So it's basically about our main character, who she's a woman living in California in America, and her brother goes off to fight in the Vietnam War, and she decides, well, he kind of says to her like, women can be heroes too. She very much comes from a family and just a society at that time that believes that women could not do great things, that women should just like stay at home and they weren't ever destined for greatness. She was taught like, women can't change the world, and she was like, no. So she decides that she wants to be involved in the war in some way, and the way that she manages to do that is by becoming a nurse, like in Vietnam, for the soldiers. So she flies out there and becomes a nurse, and you are basically following her very harrowing experience of being a nurse. Not much other than that has happened so far. Obviously, I'm not going to like go through and tell you the whole plot of the book, because I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, so far it's just kind of been her arriving and getting started in her role, and just kind of showing you the realities of war. And yeah, basically that is what is currently going on, and I'm really enjoying it. It's not giving 5-star vibes yet, but I think that might just be because not much has happened yet. Like, I'm not sure we've reached the main point of the plot. I'm expecting like something is gonna happen. Like, don't get me wrong, things are already happening, like horrific things have already happened, but it's just like lots of little horrific things. I feel like maybe something kind of big is gonna come and shape the plot, maybe. I don't know. I don't mind if it doesn't. I'm happy just kind of trundling along I don't want to say happy. It's not a happy book. I'm enjoying the reading experience regardless, but I feel like to make it a 5-star, something impactful needs to happen. But I'm literally only a quarter of the way through, so I'm sure that something will. It's just whether it then gives me those 5-star feelings. But it's definitely giving like 4-star vibes right now, which isn't bad to say I'm only a quarter in. So high hopes for this one right now. And I know I said I'd hold up Out of the Woods. I won't. I'll put the cover on screen because it's upstairs and I forgot to bring it down yet again. But I'm now about, I'd say maybe like 70-ish% through, and I'm really liking it. Again, I've still got no idea what I'm going to rate it. I think it really depends how the book ends. It's definitely not your typical romance. I don't think I explained what this one was about either. It's about Caleb and Sarah, who are married. I think I said that they are characters from Out on a Limb, and in Out on a Limb they're already married. This book is set after Out on a Limb. They are still married, but they're having issues in their relationship. So they go on this week-long retreat, like in the forest, in the woods. Not just them two on their own. It's like a specific retreat. And one of the people that runs the retreat is like a relationship therapist, I believe. So they go in there to try and work on the marriage, basically. And the premise, to me, I was like, I'm not going to read that. I don't care about marriage in trouble books. I don't tend to read them. They don't interest me. But this feels different because Sarah and Caleb have been together since they were 14. Me and my partner have been together since we were very young, like 16. And they are still young, like when this is going on. They've just had a lot happen in life, especially Sarah. She's had like horrible shit happen. So it feels more relatable, I think, just because they're close to my age. Their circumstances in some ways are more similar to my own. Not that I don't want to be self-centered, like a book doesn't have to be relatable for me to enjoy it, but nothing intrigues me about marriage in trouble books. Like it's just not interesting to me. But I think the reason that this one is, A, it's set outdoors and I'm loving the setting, and B, we already know the characters, and C, it's like ever so slightly more similar to something that I could relate to. And I am really enjoying it. I still don't know, as I said, if it's giving 5-star vibes. I really don't know what to think. I think it's at least like a 4.25, 4.5 right now. It just depends how the rest of the book goes, because the characters annoyed me a bit at the beginning. But I also think like that's the point. Like this book is trying to show like a realistic long-term relationship, and that not everything is sunshine and rainbows. and I do appreciate that. We'll see how both these books go. I am going to read more of both of them today. I'm on my lunch break from work, so I'm going to pop out. I think it's just stopped raining and the sky is brightening up a bit, so I'm going to pop out for a walk soon if it stays bright and listen to some more of The Women, and then this evening after work I will be cuddling up on the sofa and reading more, as much as I can, of Out of the Woods. I can seriously only apologise for the fact that all my reading vlogs this month are going to look like this, with me just sat in front of boxes with horrible backgrounds, but there's not much I can do about it until I move house. Anyway, I finished Out of the Woods and I think I've settled on a 3.75, so this was kind of a miss, unfortunately, in terms of finding a 5-star read. I really did think at parts of this that it could get there, but I just had too many issues with this. Like, it was a fun read. I'm not saying I didn't have a good time reading it. As I was saying before, like, I wanted to pick it up, I looked forward to reading it, all that good stuff. However, I just feel like this didn't even need to be a marriage in crisis book, because was the marriage in crisis? Like, yeah, they didn't talk for like quite a lengthy amount of time, but then they had like one conversation in the woods and everything was fine again. Don't get me wrong, like, on the one hand, it's obviously nice to see a healthy relationship, right? Like, I absolutely did not want them to be arguing back and forth for the entire book, but I also didn't want everything to be solved in one conversation. I feel like we could have gotten to the point where they were getting along and having productive conversations, but just had a few more productive emotional conversations. I feel like too soon it went from like, we're literally not even on speaking terms, to, oh yeah, like, we're all good, back to normal after one conversation. I feel like it should have took a few more chats for things to get like so back to normal as they did. It just felt a bit quick, and therefore I was like, well, what's the point of the book then? I almost feel like this should have just been like, keep them as a happy couple and just send them on a camping trip and I'll read that instead. It was just, yeah, I just didn't really understand what this was all about. But I did like it. I love these characters. I do love them. I wanted them to sort the marriage out. Like, I wanted them to stay together, but it just felt quite lackluster for me, unfortunately. But yeah, anyway, we finished it and it was unfortunately only a 3.75, which is not a bad rating. Like, for me, 3.75 is quite high. Like, that's really not a bad rating, but obviously the point of this video is to find a 5-star read or several. The next book we're going to read has been sat on my TBR for a long time, but not because I don't want to read it. I do this thing where if I think a book is going to be like a 6-star read, I just won't read it. I'll just have it sat there for ages as a just in case. Like, if I'm really like in a slump, I like to have a few books on my physical TBR that I'm pretty sure I can go to and I'm going to enjoy them. And that is Before We Were Strangers. I have no idea why I feel like this is going to be such a highly rated read for me, but I just do. Second chance romance, which isn't my favourite trope, first of all. But I think this is like a right person, wrong time, rather than one did the other one wrong and they split up. I think it's just like they just kept missing each other. Like, it just never aligned for them to be together, but they are each other's person. It's also, I believe, set in New York, and I love books set in New York. And I just get the feeling that this is going to be like, not rom-com-y, which I love a good rom-com, don't get me wrong. But usually for me, for a book to be like a 5 or a 6-star, it has to be like, there has to be some emotional thread to it. And I feel like this is going to have that. I don't know, I just get the vibe that this is going to be like a very real feeling, like an emotional kind of romance. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going to start reading it later. I'm on my lunch break now, but I'm not going to start it now. I'm going to wait until this evening when I can properly settle down and get stuck into this. It's not too long of a book. It is just over 300 pages and it's a lovely formatted book. The text is big and there's not a massive amount on each page, so I don't think this will take too long to read. I'm hoping I can have it done maybe in the next like 3 days or so around work. But yeah, I am so excited. I think this is probably the most anticipated read on my physical TBR right now. So I'm so excited to read this, and I will probably get back to you when I'm like maybe, I don't know, a bit in and let you know how it's going, like how it starts out, what the actual vibe is, and we will keep our fingers crossed that this is going to live up to the hype that I have built it up to in my head for the past few years. Look at my face. Tell me how impressed you think I am right now. Because it's not at all. I've just finished The Women. I don't know what to say or what to rate it, but I can tell you right now that it's not a 5-star. I think it was going to be a 3, and then the very ending of the book pissed me off. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil it, but I just want to say, for a book that's supposed to be about women and celebrating women and female friendships and, you know, war, why is it so much about men? Why? Why write a book called The Women and act like it's a book about celebrating women when the main female character relies on man after man after man to make everything okay, right to the end of the book? I am bereft after reading that. I think Kristin Hannah is a talented writer. Like, I think the book was written well. I definitely did get bored at points when we weren't really focusing on anything that seemed that relevant. But for the most part, I think the book was well written. The problem for me was the fact that, obviously, I'm not going to spoil it. Like, I'm going to say as much as I can without spoiling it. And I don't think what I say will spoil it anyway, because so much happens in the love department throughout the book anyway. But why did we get to the end of the book and, like, yet another shitty man is the saviour? I think I'm going to stop talking about this book now, because I think I'm going to get hate. Because I know people love this book and people might disagree with me, but I just think we're writing a book about someone that survived the war, that was on the front lines as a nurse and survived the war. Yet all we seem to care about in this book is the men that she falls in love with. Don't get me wrong, I don't care. Like, I'm not ridiculous. Like, obviously there's going to be men in the book. I want to celebrate the men in the book that also fought and survived the war, of course. The problem is, we're not celebrating those men. We're celebrating men who are awful and who lie and manipulate. And in a book that is celebrating women, why is our female main character so willing to disregard the feelings of other women for the sake of men? Not 5-star, suffice to say. I'm gonna go get my boyfriend from work in a minute, and then I'm gonna carry on reading Before We Were Strangers when I get home, because I need something that's gonna give me a bit of hope. I have started Before We Were Strangers, started it last night, and I don't really have anything to say right now. I think I'm on page like 50 or something. Did I even like describe what it was about? I think I briefly said it was like a second chance romance. Basically, we've got Grace and Matt who met in college/uni, and they don't speak, like they just lose touch over the years. And Matt has just seen Grace, and she like sees him after on the subway in New York, but like not to talk. Like, Grace was on the train, he was on the platform, and the train was like setting off as they noticed each other, and the story's basically going from there. What I didn't expect is that so far it's just in Matt's point of view. I know that it will be in Grace's point of view later, because the chapters have Matt's name at the beginning, so I'm assuming that means it's going to be dual point of view. But so far it's been in Matt's point of view, which has been interesting to get like his perception of Grace and how he feels straight away. But I am excited to like get into Grace's head as well and see how she's feeling about the whole thing. It's also dual timeline, so we're seeing them when they first met, when they were at uni, and then seeing them now. Well, seeing Matt now. We've not seen Grace now yet in the present. Does that make sense? Like, Matt has seen Grace, but we don't know what Grace's life looks like right now. We've not had her point of view yet in the present. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm not like screaming, crying, kicking my feet, obsessed right now, but I'm literally 50 pages in. And as I said, the story's not really started yet. We've not like properly met Grace. So I'm hopeful. But then I was hopeful about the women, and look how that one went. I don't know what to give the women. I don't know whether to give it a 3 or a 2.5. I'm just going to have to sit with it. I think I'm going to have to sleep on it and see how I feel tomorrow. Hello. I am now quite a bit into Before We Were Strangers. I'm just about to start part 3, which is that far into the book. So the bit on this side is the bit I've got left to read. And so far I don't really know how I'm feeling. Like, I'm definitely enjoying it. It's not giving immediate 5-star feelings. However, I've enjoyed the book enough that I think it could easily still be a 5-star. Sometimes by this point in a book, if I wasn't feeling it, I'd be like, yeah, it's just not a 5-star. But there's nothing making this not a 5-star. I just feel like we've not got to the emotional bit yet. But I think we're just about to get there. Without spoiling anything, the way that the book is kind of structured is at the beginning, you're in present day. There's quite a big portion of the book of Grace and Matt meeting and spending time together and building their friendship and just their life. And then where I am now, we're about to come back to the present day. And what has just happened right at the end of the past bit, I feel like we're going to learn more about that now in the present day chapters. And I feel like that could like rip my heart out and stamp on it. Really depends how this goes. Like, again, without spoiling anything, the thing that happened, this could either make me hate the character and rate this book like a 2, or depending on how it's dealt with now in the present chapters, it could make it a 5. So there's a lot hanging on these last few chapters. If I had to rate this now, I honestly don't think I could. Again, usually I have a pretty good feeling this far into a book of what I might rate it, and obviously that quite often will change. But I can at least give you an idea at like different points in the book what I would rate it. I have no idea at all what I would rate this right now. So we'll see which way it ends up going. I hope I love it. Obviously, I hope I love it. I've been putting this book off for so long because I feel like I'll love it. So I really hope that comes to fruition. I have finished Before We Were Strangers. I actually finished this now like 3 days ago, but I needed to formulate my thoughts. Like, as soon as I finished it, I had no idea what to rate it. I had no idea what to say about it. I just didn't know how to feel. So I really wanted to wait a few days before coming on and talking about this so I could really solidify how I actually feel about it. Unfortunately, guys, it's not a 5-star. I'm so annoyed at this point. Like, I'm so done with this. I just want to find a 5-star. Why is it nearly the end of March and I still don't have a 5-star? Like, actually give over. I'm so bored of this. But anyway, I've given it a 4.75. I think that's a bit high. I really don't want you to think that I'm not rating books 5 stars on purpose just to keep this video going. Like, I would have been so happy if the first book in this video was a 5-star. Like, I promise, if this was a 5-star, I would give it. I wanted to give this 5 stars, but I think upon reflection, it's probably a 4.5, not even a 4.75. I really did love this, but it, A, didn't give me the 5-star feeling. B, when I was reading this, I kept getting a bit distracted, whereas if a book is 5 stars for me, I'm not putting it down, I'm not picking my phone up, I forget that I even own a phone, I forget about everything else going on, and I just want to read that book. I definitely did want to read this, and I was looking forward to picking it up, but I kind of had to convince myself, like, oh, you are excited to read this because of this isn't, do you know what I mean? It didn't come naturally necessarily, that I just like needed to be reading this at all times. There were also a couple of things in here that irritated me. The way that they spoke about the homeless man, I didn't like that. Like, I thought that was a bit rude. And then just like the actions of the characters annoyed me, but like that was the point of the book. I didn't dock any rating for that. But it just didn't give me that feeling. It's just not, like, even now 3 days after, like the day after, I was really thinking about it. But even now 3 days on, like, I'm not really thinking about this book much. Whereas, like, for me, if a book is a 5-star, typically I can't stop thinking about it. I'm Googling fan casts. I'm looking up the book on TikTok to see what other people are saying. I'm trying to find, like, fan-made videos about the book. Like, I need to still be in the world of the book and hear people talking about it. I've not done that once since closing this. So I think I've probably settled on a 4.5/4.75. I don't really know, somewhere around there. But unfortunately, it's just not a 5. Like, it's a good book and I would recommend it, but it's just not a 5-star. I think the book I'm reading now, which unfortunately I don't have a physical copy of, even though I should have had one today, I don't, because for some reason my pre-order is now getting delivered on Saturday. Today's Tuesday. Unbeknownst to me as to why, but it's Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, the next book in the new Hunger Games. Is it going to be a trilogy? I don't know. The next new Hunger Games book, which follows Haymitch. When President Snow's book came out, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I still don't really know the title. I love that book, by the way. But when that book came out, this was what I wanted it to be. Does that make sense? Like, when we got Snow's story, we all wanted it to be Haymitch. So I feel like now that we're finally getting his story, I have very high hopes. I also have higher hopes that this is going to be a 5-star because so much of what I loved about the original trilogy was learning about District 12 and really seeing the kind of contrast between District 12 and the capital. And I feel like we're going to get that again in Haymitch's story because he is from District 12. President Snow's story was obviously just very different. I feel like Haymitch is going to kind of bring us back to the original Hunger Games trilogy, and do you know what I mean? Like really give me those elements that I adored and that kind of social commentary that I really loved about the original trilogy. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to get that in here. So unfortunately I don't have a physical copy, but I have got the audiobook. Went straight on this morning and got that. I'm just annoyed because I wanted to like listen to the audiobook before work and on my lunch break and then read the physical book this evening. And I can't do that, so I'm just going to have to rely on the audio. However, I am going down to London for work at the end of this week, so I probably won't have listened to it all by then. So that will be the perfect excuse to listen to it on my journey down and back from London. But anyway, it's now Tuesday. I'm not going to London till Thursday. But as I said, because I don't have the physical copy, I'm just going to be listening to it for now because I'm not going to buy it on Kindle. I've already bought the physical copy and the audio. As much as I think I'm going to adore this book, I can't do 3 formats when I know the physical copy's on the way. So we're just going to listen to it. And I'm on my lunch break now. So I'm going to pop out. I'm going to go to the train station and pick up my tickets if I can for Thursday so that I don't have to do it Thursday morning because it's already going to be a really early morning for me. I don't want to be faffing about trying to get my tickets and getting up even earlier. So I'm going to go see if I can get those now and then go for a walk, all the while I listen to Sunrise on the Repeat. We've finally found a 5-star read for this video. This originally was not going to be a this video ends when we find a 5-star read, but I actually need to upload this. So it now is. We found one 5-star read and unfortunately the video is going to have to end. To be fair, we've read quite a few books I think in this video, but our 5-star is none other than Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Finally, if anyone was going to do it, Suzanne Collins was going to. This book was just brilliant. It was so good, hence why it was a 5-star. This just gave me such like OG Hunger Games vibes. I feel like in the President Snow book, whatever that was called, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I think, that one was obviously very different. Like it didn't have the same vibes as the original trilogy, which makes sense because it was about his origin story and obviously he was like a capital kid, not a district kid. So it made sense that it was different, but it was just like a breath of heartbreaking fresh air to go back to the districts and to be back in the point of view of someone, especially from 12, I think was really reminiscent of the original series. And for most of the book it was sitting at like a 4.5 and then the epilogue got me. I'm not gonna like say anything, but when he mentioned Katniss and Peter in the epilogue I was like, yeah, 5 stars, thank you. So finally guys, we found our first 5-star read of 2025. For me it is currently the 22nd of March. I did finish this a couple of days ago. I finished it on Thursday, so 2 days ago. So on the 20th of March we found our first 5-star read of 2025, which is a relief because it's been a long 3 months not finding any books that I'm just like obsessed with. So finally we have done it, and that brings this video to an end. I don't really have any intelligent thoughts about the book right now. I'm sure I will have something a bit more profound to say in my monthly wrap up, I hope, because I understand this wasn't a very good review, but like there's just not much to say. Like it was just following Haymitch through his Hunger Games and the aftermath of that, and I loved it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Please do give it a thumbs up down below if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.